It's not a bad thing that you change trainers. I just worry about, again, the strategy that he's going to use or imply in this fight. I just hope he doesn't get confused. I just hope that Munguia be himself inside that ring. Yes, you can try different things, but just be who you are.
Welcome into the Big Fight Breakdown here on ProBox TV. Download the ProBox TV app. Never fall behind in your boxing news. Big fight we're breaking down. That's right, Jaime Munguia, fresh off his loss to Canelo Alvarez. More on that in a second. Taking on ERIK Bazinyan. This, another one in the super middleweight division. Only one loss between both of these fighters. Jimmy Smith in studio, joined by the champs, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, joined via Zoom by ESPN boxing analyst Timothy Bradley. I got to start, Paulie, before we get into the X's and O's of this fight, the post-Canelo glow for Munguia. We just saw the Berlanga fight. We've all been critical of Berlanga's performance. He just didn't go out and do very much. Munguia went out there to win. You could say controlled the early parts of the fight before Canelo landed some big punches and took him out of it. Does his stock go up vis-a-vis Berlanga, who didn't do as much? Does it make his stock go up going into this fight?
I mean, naturally, if Berlanga's stock went up, certainly Munguia's stock has to go up, right? I mean, if we're using the same barometer. I think Berlanga's stock more so went up because he's never been at this level. There was not much expected. Munguia, on the other hand, is an ex-world champion, and he fought at this level. He's beaten other contenders, very competitive fights, a lot of Fight of the Year candidates on Munguia's resume. He's really against high-level opposition, not just Fight of the Year candidates against low-level opposition. So he's shown to at least, although he's hittable and he's limited, he's also world-class. So I think that the recognition he got from the Canelo fight, winning the early rounds, going for it, before Canelo took it away from him with that savvy ring generalship that he has himself and taking away the space. I think that gets Munguia some credibility. He was a hungry guy before the Canelo fight. Will that Canelo fight money affect him? Because he was a guy who was willing to go right into the fire willingly. He would sometimes, he's like, this fight's not hot enough. Let me just dive right in. Is he still that guy? After the Canelo experience, because he was that guy before, again, and he was able to be that guy at world-class level, something we have not yet seen Berlanga do. So it's a different conversation when we're talking about Munguia, similar yet different. That's why this weekend's fight is interesting.
Right, that's what's interesting to me, Chris, is the timing of this, meaning Munguia, not a spring chicken. All right, the guy has over 40 pro fights, and when you look at the balance that Paulie was talking about between he's sleeping in silk sheets now if he feels like it with the money he got, but he also came up short in a big fight. That tends to haunt you a bit. How do you feel about that balance when it comes to his motivation coming off that fight?
Well, I think, Champ, yes, is he still that guy? I don't think it's going to change. I think that with the way he is, I think he just is that guy. He's going to go into the fire. He likes to put on exciting fights. Also, I think it's a really good sign him coming back so quickly. So, the fight was in May against Canelo, takes his first loss, makes tons of money, but he's back in a September date, got a new promotion now, so there's a lot of negotiating going on with all that. So, I think that's all a good sign. Obviously, it's going to really depend on how he performs on Saturday, but I think if he goes out there and he puts up a good performance and shows that he's continued to improve, because he's been getting much better. I was really impressed with the John Ryder fight. He looked really good in that fight. He was under Freddie Roach at that time. He's actually gone back down to Erik Morales as a trainer. But he looked really good in the first couple rounds of the Canelo fight. But also, when you spend 12 rounds with a guy like Canelo, you tend to learn a thing or two. So if he can take some of those learning lessons from that Canelo fight into this fight and keep his career moving forward, I mean, there's a lot of upside for this guy. He is very marketable. He's got the Mexican fan base. He's so fun to watch in terms of his styles that are very entertaining. He's like you said, he's got the silk sheets now if he wants them, but it seems like he still wants to go into the fray and take tough fights. And listen, this is a tough fight coming up too. This is no walk in the park as coming off a loss from Canelo.
All right, well, let's get into Bazinyan, of course. Tim, what are your thoughts on him? We know about Munguia as the known quantity. Bazinyan, a lot of fans don't know. He is tough, strong. His style a little bit basic, but undefeated. 32-0-1. What do you think fans are going to see from him this weekend?
You know what? He's I would say he's averaging every single department. He had in a sense of amateur career. I would say I think I read somewhere he had like 100 and something wins and he had one loss. I don't know how true that is. However, he's Armenian. It makes me think back in the days when I was on the rise, and they had Vic Darchinyan fighting and Arthur Abraham, those two Armenian fighters, very strong, can punch, can box a little bit. He's kind of like in that same rim. He can switch from southpaw to orthodox. He can get busy inside the pocket. He has a phenomenal jab that he starts all of his work with first off. And defensively, that's where he lacks a bit, a bit straight up and down, stiff back. This isn't a guy that's going to be a twerker at all. He don't know how to twerk. I'm letting y'all know that right now. Don't have much bend in his back. But, I think he's going to come to fight. I think his last time inside the ring, he got a split draw. So I'm sure he wants to enhance that and get better. He's faced with a tough challenger in Munguia that I think that right now he's right in the midst of his prime, even after coming off defeat. When you're facing a legend like Canelo Alvarez and you survive that beatdown and you survive it, it makes you better. It definitely does, because you say to yourself, if I can survive what Canelo is dishing out, what do you think this guy's going to be able to do against me? So you come in there with that type of confidence. And then, to what Chris was saying, I just wonder when it comes to Munguia, what Munguia is going to show up, because he just needs to be who he is in this fight. And that's come forward, bring the volume, bring the punches and bunches. But the fact that he got with Erik Morales, I don't know. I'm like, why did he get back with Erik? Why did he leave Freddie? I thought Freddie did a great job enhancing his jab combinations, but Erik Morales, that's a different change. And I think it could have something to do with the fact that fighting Canelo, understanding that it's not about how hard you fight, it's about how smart you are inside that ring. And Erik Morales, he had that, he was a really, technical fighter. Yes, he will get aggressive, but he was more technical. I'm wondering if we're going to see a more technically sound Munguia, which I don't think is going to be good for him, because again, all he needs to do is bring that pressure, bring that volume, and he's going to make that man shell up, and he's going to have plenty of opportunities to land shots around that guard, downstairs and underneath that guard. So I think that's an interesting tale in this fight. What will Erik Morales bring to Munguia after Freddie Roach had him?
Paulie, I got to ask you, because we were when we talked to Berlanga earlier, before he fought Canelo, he said one of the things that Andre Ward told him is you tend to overtrain for big fights, right? Your first big fight, you train a little too much, right? Were you in shape for these other fights? All right, it's 12 rounds, so you're going to be in shape for this fight. The idea in the other sense of overreacting to a loss. How many people kind of go back to the drawing board a little too much? You lose to Canelo, competitive once again early. As Tim is saying, that criticism of changing camps, do you tend to overreact to that? Does it happen in fighters?
I just think it's more, it can. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's mental approach is different to a loss, but I think this is more just going back to the familiarity. He was with Erik Morales for so long. This isn't just a complete nuance here where we're just going to a different trainer and we haven't got a history here and we just left Freddie Roach for somebody completely new. This is more, could be simple things. He's made a lot of money already, and it's like, dude, I don't feel like going to LA to train. I want to stay at home in Tijuana. Erik was already my trainer. He's an ex-world champion. There's respect in the business for him. I don't want to complicate camp, bro. I just want to, keep it simple, Does that mean a lack of hunger, lack of desire? I guess we'll find out on fight night, but I don't know. Maybe I think this could be overthinking a little bit as far as, the reasoning why he left a Hall of Fame trainer like Freddie. Could be something, for me, just could be simple. It could be, you know what? I don't want to go to LA to train. I'm in Tijuana. I want to stay in Tijuana to train. Erik lives in Tijuana. I want to train at home. That's it. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay home.
This idea, when we're looking at 168 pounds, of course, Canelo Alvarez, the champ, a lot of names have left 168. How important, Chris, is this fight to you when it comes to establishing that next, maybe not contender, because obviously Munguia has fought Canelo already, but the next big name at 168 pounds, is that going to be flushed out in the next couple months, and this is part of it?
Yeah, no, this is huge. Yeah. A performance here, listen, the division underneath Canelo is wide open. And guess what? Canelo's getting older, and he's showing it. One of these guys is going to knock him off soon. It's going to happen. He keeps taking these fights. Hey, if you say a guy like Munguia who maybe gets a rematch with Canelo, maybe enough time has passed. Maybe Munguia's learned enough. Maybe Canelo's degraded enough. Now we're talking a different fight. Caleb Plant's in the same situation. He's already fought Canelo Alvarez. He's working his way back to a Canelo Alvarez rematch. Everybody wants that money. You want to hit it twice? Sure, why not? Especially when the guy is actually, he's aging. We're all aging. So, I think this is really important. I think everyone is still in the running for that Canelo match, even though they've already fought. And you got to stay on top. And, if you can make a good case for yourself, and that you could be the next guy. You're the best guy around. And Canelo's like, yeah, I've already beat the guy. I'll take him again. Even though I'm a little older now. One of these guys is potentially there to topple Canelo and take over. So yes, this is extremely, extremely important here for Munguia to right that, get back off from that loss from Canelo Alvarez. Keep moving forward. Keep moving towards the top of the division. And regardless if he gets a Canelo rematch or not, still he has an opportunity to be one of the guys who could unify 168 if Canelo is to retire or move on or look for bigger and better fights or whatever the case may be. So extremely, extremely important in this division, which is a ton of talent, but the pecking order is still working itself out.
The Morales change, not a big deal for you, Jim?
I'm not a big fan of that because I liked what Freddie was doing with Munguia. I saw the adjustments that Freddie was doing. I could literally watch those fights and be like, that's Freddie. And that concerned me when I first heard about it. And you made a really good point. Maybe it's just a comfort thing. I don't like that. Being uncomfortable is important for camp.
Yeah, and maybe he wants to be comfortable at home. I mean,
I don't like that.
And that's the thing. It could be a lack of hunger too.
Sacrifice.
But
I don't like that. Yeah,
of course, but maybe again, the Canelo money, this and that. Again, I'm going to quote Raging Bull again. You know what? Can I quote Raging Bull? It's like, you're asking him this question. You're asking him this question about whether he's going to go, why he's going back home, and why he's not staying with Freddie. Listen, that's a sick question. He goes, you're a sick person for asking that question, and I'm not that sick that I'm going to answer that question. I'm going home. That's what remember, that conversation ends with, I'm going home. That's what Munguia's doing. That's a sick question. There's people are sick for asking it. You're sick for asking it, Jimmy. Munguia's not sick. Munguia's not that sick to answer that question. He's going home. That's what he's doing. He's going home.
Champ, normally your movie quotes are really, really good. That one was a bit of a stretch.
He's going home. He is going home.
So, Tim, what is your thought on that? When you look at, I don't want to drive. Dude, LA is a long drive from Tijuana, right? I used to do it, okay? You can go down to Tijuana in 2 seconds.
But you can drive.
Right. But my question is, I'm very curious about this. As Chris says, I want to be comfortable. I don't want to go to LA. Well, do you want to be a world champion? That's not comfortable either. What's your thought on that?
Nah, to be honest with you, sometimes what happens is, and sometimes you don't even have to lose. Sometimes a fighter just, leave their trainer. I mean, there was a time I didn't lose and I left Joel Diaz. So that, when you don't have success and you're expecting to have success and you don't have it, then you say, well, I was better off with this trainer. You know what I mean? Because I was undefeated with this guy. So that can be the factor here. That could be the reason why. But then I just think about, again, the style at which ERIK Morales teaches. It's going to be a technical type of style. I'm telling you, you learn so much when you fight against these top guys. And after Canelo fought against Mayweather, he became more of a defensive-minded counterpuncher style. That's what he brought. But that was after fighting Mayweather. When I fought Manny Pacquiao after he fought Mayweather, he became a little bit more patient than he was in the past. He didn't rush things. So I think that has something to do with it. I honestly believe that he got back with ERIK Morales because he's saying, you know what? I want to be a little bit more technical. I want to have that aggression, but I want to have some technique behind that aggression as well. I want to be a little bit smarter getting to the pocket, not just rushing things. I want to be a little bit better defensively. And I think that ERIK Morales, with his style and how he coaches, that's what he's going to bring in this fight. However, I just worry about that because that's not what he's going to need to do against this guy, Bazinyan. Bazinyan, again, is a good boxer. Really excellent jab. If he can get past that jab and get on the inside, that's where he's going to be able to get busy and get cooking. But if he tries to sit back and outbox and try this new style, that he's going to probably learn from ERIK Morales, I'm sure, then the fight is going to be up in the air. I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
But how new is the style? He's been with Morales, champ. He's been with Morales already.
I'm just saying.
I actually thought he learned some technical stuff from Freddie, too. So I don't really know if he's going to be more technical. But I agree that if he tries to go head-up boxing with Bazinyan, he's going to have trouble. Yeah. Bazinyan can box. He's a very basic guy. He's a 1-2 guy. He's got a really good right hand. He sets it up with his jab. He's a consistent 1-2 guy. He'll change levels a little bit with a stab jab down low, throws right over the top. Fundamentals from head to toe. Those guys are tough to box. Yeah, the difference I see is exactly what you said, Champ. What did you say? He doesn't know how to twerk? Yeah, he doesn't have any kind of, he doesn't have any of that fluidity up top. He's very stiff, very European in his style. Nothing extracurricular. Nothing outside the box. And Munguia offensively is extremely dynamic. He is explosive. He's athletic. He's a big guy. He can move much better than you would think for someone as big as he is for the weight class. So I agree with you, Chip. I think it needs to be more of what got him here, which is that dynamic, two-fisted attacker, an overwhelming Bazinyan who's going to be there to be hit. But if he stands on the outside and tees off and fences with him,
he was that
it's a
guy
tough
with
fight.
Morales. Guys, he was that guy with Morales. He fought a lot with Morales. I mean, he put those punches together,
fought more with Morales.
combinations together. So, you know, I don't think that we got to question that. I mean, he's been that guy when he was with Morales.
Well, one point, though. Freddie Roach is a coach. Very expensive.
Costs a lot of money.
Very expensive. So now you move on. Hey, there's so many different reasons why you would leave a coach, why you would go somewhere else. It's just another thought.
So convenience again.
Convenience again.
Financial convenience.
Well, you think about it. Well, look, you said something. You were talking about Bazinyan. You were talking about his 1-2 combination. But what about even Munguia? He throws the same combination over and over and over again. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3.
but Tim, it's off rhythm.
Yeah.
He's bouncing in and out. He's bouncing in and out as
least,
he sets it up. So he's got that in and out bounce, and he shoots it off that in and out bounce. There's a rhythm to it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, he's repetitive with his combinations as well. At least when he was with Freddie, he was throwing. I thought he was throwing straighter punches.
Yeah, well,
he
added a right hand.
He
was so left-hand dominant, and then Freddie added a right hand. He dropped Ryder with the right hand like 3 times.
There you go. And you know what? I'll say this: he will not forget that. No. That's the one thing he will not forget that. Like, you know, we make it like it's a bad thing in changing trainers. Excuse me. Damn, I got my tongue twister. we think it's a bad thing. Now, I don't think it's a bad thing all the time. I mean, you got to look at a guy like Joshua. He took a little bit from each trainer, and now we got the complete package of Joshua now. You know, the step around game, his feint game then got better. His jab got a lot better. Now he's sitting down in the inside. He knows how to bend those knees on the inside and rip down to the body because of Robert Garcia. So, like, it's not a bad thing that you change trainers. I just worry about, again, the strategy that he's going to use or imply in this fight. I just hope he doesn't get confused. I just hope that Munguia be himself inside that ring. Yes, you can try different things, but just be who you are and not try to be like a superior boxer, or at least try not to be Canelo Alvarez.
Tim, you know something? Did you change that background? I like that background. I like that background.
We appreciate it, Tim.
I like it.
Chris, what I'm curious about with this fight, you know, as Tim said, Bazinyan is coming off a draw. We have coming off the loss from McGee against Canelo. The first couple rounds, what do you want to see with each fighter learn from those fights, right? You talk about the technique, you talk about learning in between fights. First couple rounds, what do you want to see that has been picked up by both fighters?
I'll go with the lesser-known guy first, Bazinyan. I think he needs to come out and assert himself and show that he belongs on this level. He's never been in with someone at the level of Jaime Munguia. He's had some good performances, but whenever he stepped up to... He's fought a lot of like opponents of top-level guys. He's never fought any real top-level guys yet. This would be a huge step up for him.
Like Bonafide, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys that he's had, the Coserises of the world, the Ronald Ellises of the world, you know, which are all opponents to top-level guys. And he's been one of those guys. He doesn't knock those guys out normally. Ronald Ellis he did, but you know, those other guys he didn't. You know, he's coming off a draw, as you said. So I think he needs to go out there. He really needs to establish. Tim, you said it. He's got a good jab. He needs to get out there and get that jab going. Munguia, not known as a defensive wizard by any means. I think getting to an early start, bagging some of those early rounds, showing that he belongs there, putting Munguia in a bit of a hole where he has to rage back, which can allow for openings as well, I think will be good for Bazinyan. And in terms of Munguia, I think he's got to come out and be a little more defensively sound. Don't take that right hand. This guy can punch. Bazinyan's got a good right hand. It's strong. You mentioned Armenians are strong. They're all strong. We talked about that off air. He's going to land. He's definitely going to land it.
It's Munguia.
He needs to avoid the big shots early on.
If I throw this phone and Munguia's in the room, it's going to hit him.
But I want to see Munguia establish the body attack early. You got a guy who stands straight up, got a lot of real estate on both those sides on the flanks. I want to see him get to that body. That's what Munguia does at his best. He double, triples up that left hand. You know, when he's out there and he actually learned how to jab all of a sudden. In the last couple fights, he's been able to jab a little bit. But really setting up that body work early on against Bazinyan, who he's never been in with a guy who's going to be consistent like that, has been as consistent like that, I think is important.
What is an acceptable outcome for you, Paulie, if you're on Team Munguia? once again, coming off the loss, what's an acceptable outcome for you? Just getting the W, or does he need a little bit of dominance in a division, 168, which is kind of shaking out right now? What's your thought?
Listen, if he gets a stoppage, it's very impressive, and he's going to get a lot of credit for it. You know, if he doesn't get the stoppage, winning is still, you know, it's still expected. It's paramount, tantamount. What's the word? Paramount. Yep. Thank you, Chim, my resident English teacher here. Paramount, not tantamount. Paramount. Okay, so I think it's important to get the win. Munguia typically gets wins in exciting fashion, so you're not going to see Pernell Whitaker spring up out of nowhere in terms of Jaime Munguia, right? So even if it goes a distance, him winning, I don't even have a problem with him getting hit and winning, because that's what he always does anyway. So, you know.
Actually, I'd rather it because it's fun.
yeah. And I think that's more so what we can expect. He might be able to overwhelm Bazinyan a little bit. Bazinyan is right-hand happy. He's got a good jab, but he's right-hand happy. Kind of loads up on the right hand a little too much. He's a 1-2 guy from what I noticed on video, but he's not a sharp 1-2 guy like a Bivol, for example. He's an Eastern guy who kind of puts a little bit more mustard on the right hand, but he telegraphs it because he's trying too hard to throw it. Bivol's right hand is just sharp. It's like he's not trying. Whop, it just gets you. So against a sharp guy, that might not even land, you know? But against Munguia, you're probably going to land it anyway. But nonetheless, I don't know that where usually Bazinyan's right hand gets that respect. Munguia might field your right hand. It doesn't matter. He's got that Mexican warrior spirit. He's going to take it to you anyway. Yeah, you're going to hit me with that thing? I'm going to hit you back the way he typically does. So does Bazinyan have an answer? I'm curious to see from Bazinyan's part, you know, what's the response when Munguia takes his right hand? And how many right hands does it take for Munguia not to take his right hand? Or maybe Munguia goes down, but he's still going to get up and look to beat the crap out of you, because that's just Munguia's mentality. Do you have that resistance? I think we got another good fight. Munguia's typically not in bad fights.
No, he'll go southpaw. You know, he has that element to his game. He can go southpaw. And you know what? I think he fights better from the southpaw stance.
But he can be hit with more right hands from the southpaw stance.
Tim, he's more dynamic from the southpaw, yeah.
I think from the southpaw stance, he is a little bit more dynamic with his shots too. And he's short and compact with his shots. You know, looping shots. He puts his combinations together really well on the inside. The only thing that I see that's going to be a problem for him. See, I look at these guys' defense. You know, how are you responding? Are you slipping? Are you pulling? You know, are you using your feet? You know, are you using a high guard? Like, what system are you using? You know, all it does for defense is either he gets all the way out or he just puts the high guard up. And it's okay to use the high guard. It's fine. You can use the high guard, but when it becomes inactive, that's the problem.
That's the thing.
He has an inactive high guard where he just tucks up until you're done.
For good body punchers love a high guard. I loved a high guard because I was ripping your liver out when you had a high guard.
What do you say? What do you say, Polly? I go, you go.
Yeah, I go, you. That's my problem right there.
Your turn.
High guard, you got to be able to punch in between. You got to have that catch and shoot going. If you're going to go high guard, you got to have that catch and shoot ability. It's got to be triggered.
Bazinyan doesn't do that.
And if Bazinyan's not doing that, because Munguia runs off numbers. See, the champ Chris mentioned he liked to go to the body when guys gave a high guard. You know what I like to do when they gave a high guard? Run numbers, because you're locked up. So I could run numbers with speed. Wow. Some would get through, some wouldn't. But it would look sharp and flashy for the judges because I would be out before you even reacted. So there's options you create offensively for your opponent when you're just going high guard. You got to be able to switch up that high guard from your legs to your high guard to your parrying to your moving your head. You got to, at world-class level, you need a little bit of all of it. You can be better at some parts of it than others, but you need a little bit of all of it. But with that lock defense, high guard defense, you better have a catch and shoot to it because you'll just lose every round not getting off enough punches.
I rewatched Hagler-Leonard recently because we were talking about it. And those last 30 seconds of the rounds when he would unload, I would sit there and go, none of those landed. Yeah. Crowd is going crazy. Judges are writing stuff
that's
down.
That's where I learned to do that.
Shoe shot.
Shoe shot. Nothing landed at all.
Yeah, that's where I learned to do that. Right? Yeah, I did that in the amateurs, and I did that in the pro. Guys will lock up. It just looks good.
I was the opposite. I was trying to find holes. I want to hit you. I want to hit you uppercut.
I mean, you got to do some of that too, but those are like round stealers.
It looks so good.
Those are round stealers. If you got speed, especially if you got speed, it looks even better. So it's just they're round stealers. You know, you get in there, and some do get through and some don't, but nothing like that's going to be like, whoa, you hurt him. You're not going to hurt him with that because they locked up defensively.
I see Bazinyan in the beginning, he's a very push-pull, like a very European style, very tall in and out, which I think is going to be successful. But once he slows down, he starts going here, and Munguia starts running numbers. Munguia's putting hurt
And
on
that's
you.
the
He's
thing.
going to bang your forearms and your
that's the thing,
shoulders and your elbows.
Even if they're not landing, if you're not doing anything, it doesn't matter if they're not landing because one guy's working and one guy's not. So you gotta work. You can't let yourself get outworked. Even if it doesn't all get through, enough of it gets through if you don't do anything to still win the round because you're not doing anything.
Guys,
you gotta do something. You gotta fight.
Another important point. Jaime Munguia in Phoenix, Arizona.
Ooh,
Crowd
it's
is going to be all over.
Mexican American,
Yeah.
as we
He's
know.
gonna be all over.
La Raza's in town.
When La Raza's in the
that's
house,
their home.
yeah, number one, it's going to be loud. Number two, hard to get a decision when the crowd's
Yeah,
screaming like that.
Munguia's going to sneeze and get crowd applause. So it does
Yeah.
everything he does is going to get boisterous applause.
And like I said, Munguia's always in exciting fights anyway. So
Yeah.
I think no matter what crowd Munguia fights in front of, I've been in Anaheim to Munguia fights, bro. The crowd is going nuts, bro, nuts.
No, he's fun. He's super fun to
This
watch.
guy's fights are always exciting.
Well, it's
really
going to
is.
be exciting this weekend. We'll give you the results as always on ProBox TV. Once again, download the ProBox TV app. Never fall behind in your boxing news. We'll see you after the next big fight.
Wednesday Night Fights.
Dynamite action on Wednesday Night Fights every other Wednesday on your boxing channel.
Coming up on your next Wednesday Night Fights, October 9th. Chris, Primetime Colbert, and Omar Super Salcido step into the ring for what is sure to be a barn burner. Live from the ProBox Event Center in Plant City. Get your tickets at ProBoxTV.com or take your chances at the door. Wednesday Night Fights.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.